They called it the Galactic Pride Games, a spectacle where the apex predators of the stars clashed for honor, fear, and supremacy. Crystalline beasts that walked between dimensions, insectoid titans that wielded plasma, and storms given flesh by worlds that knew no mercy. And then, humanity arrived, late, quiet, almost apologetic, with nothing but a steel cage and a warning. They laughed at us, mocked the tiger, scoffed at the shark, dismissed the elephant as quaint. But when the latch clicked open and that small creature stepped into the arena, the laughter stopped. Because that was the moment the galaxy learned a terrifying truth. Earth does not breed predators for sport. We breed survivors. The Galactic Pride Games. The Nexus Arena floated in the void between star systems, a massive crystalline structure that housed the most prestigious event in known space. Every 50 cycles, the greatest civilizations gathered for the Galactic Apex Tournament, where each species presented their most fearsome predator. It was more than entertainment. It was a display of evolutionary superiority, a peaceful way to establish dominance without war. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, watching alien dignitaries file into their luxury boxes. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and her Earth Defense Force uniform looked plain compared to the exotic garments of other species. Beside her, Dr. Marcus Webb clutched a data tablet containing behavioral profiles of Earth's submissions. Nervous? Sarah asked, not taking her eyes off the arena floor below. Marcus adjusted his glasses. 3 years of preparation, and they're treating us like a comedy act. The arena itself was a marvel of engineering. Multiple biomes existed simultaneously within force field barriers. Frozen tundra neighbored tropical rainforest, while acidic swamps bordered rocky canyons. Each environment was designed to showcase different types of predators under optimal conditions. The opening ceremony began with fanfare that translated across dozens of languages. High Chancellor Vrex of the Vorthon Empire took center stage, his crystalline body refracting light into rainbow patterns. His voice resonated through quantum translators. Welcome, beings of the galaxy, to the 47th Galactic Apex Tournament. Today we celebrate the pinnacle of evolution, the ultimate expressions of survival and dominance from our respective worlds. Cheers erupted from the crowds. Sarah noticed how the Earth section remained mostly empty. Humanity was still considered a minor species, barely worth acknowledging. The first presentation came from the Kalari Dominion. Ambassador Zach, a mantis-like being with razor-sharp limbs, gestured toward a containment field. Inside prowled a creature that defied description. The plasma mantis stood 12 feet tall, its exoskeleton gleaming like polished obsidian. Energy crackled between its scythe-like arms, and its compound eyes tracked movement with predatory precision. Behold the Kalari mantis, Zach clicked in their insectoid language. Capable of generating plasma at 5,000 degrees. No known armor can withstand its strike. It has never lost a hunt. The crowd murmured appreciatively. The creature demonstrated by melting a steel target with a casual swipe of its arm. Next came the Zephyrian Collective's entry. The gaseous beings materialized their representative, a swirling cloud of sentient storm. Ambassador Wisp spoke in harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. The storm Leviathan commands weather itself. Hurricane winds, lightning, hail. It drowns worlds in tempests and strikes down enemies with the fury of nature. The demonstration was spectacular. Artificial clouds formed in the arena, releasing torrential rain and lightning that danced to the creature's will. Several smaller creatures in test chambers were instantly incinerated by precisely directed bolts. The Vorthan Empire saved their presentation for last among the major powers. Chancellor Vrex's pride was evident as massive containment fields lowered to reveal their apex predator. The Void Stalker was nightmare-given form. 50 feet of sleek, predatory grace, it resembled a massive feline crossed with something from deep space. Its hide seemed to absorb light, making it difficult to focus on directly. Most terrifying were its eyes, pools of absolute darkness that seemed to look directly into the soul. The Void Stalker hunts through telepathic terror, Vrex announced. It paralyzes prey with pure fear before the kill. No creature has ever escaped once marked as prey. It is evolution perfected. To demonstrate, they released a small creature into the arena. The Void Stalker didn't move physically, but the prey animal immediately froze, trembling uncontrollably. Then it simply lay down and waited to die. The crowd fell silent in awe. Several minor species presented their entries. Acid-spitting worms, metal-eating beetles, creatures that could phase through solid matter. Each demonstration drew gasps and applause. Finally, it was Earth's turn. Sarah walked onto the arena floor with Dr. Webb trailing behind. The crowd's chatter was dismissive. Humanity's reputation preceded them as a young, weak species that had barely achieved space travel. Earth's first entry, Sarah announced, her voice amplified across the arena. The Great White Shark. A massive aquatic tank was wheeled in, containing 20 feet of perfectly evolved killing machine. The shark moved with deadly grace, its black eyes showing no emotion except hunger. Scattered laughter rippled through the alien crowd. "A primitive fish," someone called out. "Does it even have energy weapons?" asked another. Dr. Webb stepped forward. The Great White has remained virtually unchanged for 400 million years because it achieved evolutionary perfection. Bite force of 18,000 pounds per square inch, can detect electrical fields from muscle contractions, and can sense a single drop of blood from 3 miles away. The demonstration showed the shark tearing through steel bars like paper, but the crowd remained unimpressed. Earth's second entry was the Siberian tiger, the massive cat paced in its enclosure, orange and black stripes rippling over 800 pounds of pure muscle. "Another mammal," scoffed Ambassador Zach. "Where are its plasma weapons?" "The Siberian tiger can leap horizontally for 33 feet, Marcus explained. Its claws can shred armor plating, and it hunts prey twice its size in temperatures that would kill most species here." The tiger's demonstration involved shredding through various materials, but again the aliens seemed bored. The third entry was an African elephant. The massive bull stood 13 feet tall, his tusks gleaming like ivory spears. The laughter was louder now. "They brought a herbivore to an apex predator tournament," wheezed one alien. Sarah's jaw tightened. The African elephant has no natural predators as an adult. It's intelligent enough to use tools, strong enough to flip vehicles, and aggressive enough to charge armed humans. Elephants have been known to seek revenge on humans who killed their family members, tracking them for years. But the crowd was barely listening. The demonstrations felt flat compared to plasma weapons and telepathic terror. Chancellor Vrex addressed the arena with barely concealed amusement. "Earth's entries are quaint, primitive beasts suited for a primitive world. Perhaps in a few million years of evolution, they might develop into something noteworthy." The crowd erupted in laughter. Sarah felt her face burn with humiliation, but she kept her expression neutral. "However," Vrex continued, "we shall allow Earth to complete their presentation. I believe there was mention of a fourth entry." Sarah looked up at the alien dignitaries with something that might have been a smile. "There is." She gestured to Dr. Webb, who activated a small containment field. Inside was what appeared to be a small, unimpressive mammal. About 3 feet long, covered in coarse gray and black fur, with a distinctive white stripe down its back. It was currently curled up, apparently sleeping. The silence was deafening. Then the laughter began. It started as chuckles, but grew into full-blown hysteria. Aliens were literally holding their sides, some species changing colors in amusement. "Is that a pet?" someone called out. "Did they bring their offspring by mistake? What does it do? Shed on furniture?" Chancellor Vrex wiped what might have been tears from his crystalline features. "Oh, humans, this is precious. What exactly is this creature supposed to be?" Sarah looked up at the crowd, her expression completely serious. "This is a honey badger." The name meant nothing to anyone. "It weighs about 30 pounds, Dr. Webb added helpfully. More laughter. "And what exactly does this honey badger do?" Vrex asked, struggling to contain his amusement. Sarah placed her hand on the containment field's control panel. "It doesn't care." Before anyone could ask what that meant, she deactivated the field. The honey badger opened its eyes, small, dark eyes that seemed to assess everything in the arena with the calculation of a seasoned general planning a war. Then it stretched, yawned, and looked directly at the massive plasma mantis in the adjacent enclosure. What happened next would be talked about across the galaxy for generations. The honey badger moved with a speed that defied its compact frame. One moment it was standing calmly, the next it had somehow scaled the energy barrier containing the plasma mantis. No one saw exactly how it got there. The Kalari creature turned toward this small intruder with what might have been curiosity. Its plasma claws crackled with energy as it prepared to incinerate the little mammal with a casual swipe. The honey badger attacked first. The unleashing and rampage. The arena erupted into chaos as the honey badger latched onto the plasma mantis's neck with the tenacity of a vice grip. The massive insectoid creature reared back, its energy claws slashing wildly, but the small earth mammal held on with grim determination. Plasma energy washed over the honey badger, burning fur and flesh, yet it refused to release its grip. The acrid smell of singed hair filled the arena, but instead of weakening the creature, the pain seemed to fuel its rage. Ambassador Zack's mandibles clicked frantically. Impossible! Nothing survives direct plasma contact. Our weapon systems are calibrated to melt through starship hulls. Dr. Webb watched the spectacle with clinical fascination, consulting his tablet even as alien dignitaries screamed around him. Honey badgers possess skin up to 6 millimeters thick and an unusually high pain threshold. They regularly endure hundreds of bee stings while raiding hives. Their nervous system processes pain differently than most mammals. The plasma mantis thrashed desperately, its 12-foot frame buckling under the assault of something barely a fraction of its size. The honey badger had instinctively located the vulnerable joint where exoskeleton segments connected, and its powerful jaws were methodically crushing through what the Kalari had believed to be impenetrable bio-armor. Purple ichor began spraying across the arena floor as the honey badger's teeth found vital organs. The creature's technique was brutally efficient, targeting nerve clusters and major arteries with the precision of a surgeon and the ferocity of a berserker. The mantis's death scream reverberated through the crystalline walls, a metallic shriek that forced several species to cover their auditory organs. The massive predator convulsed once, twice, then collapsed into a twitching heap of cooling exoskeleton. The honey badger climbed down from its victim with the casual air of someone finishing routine maintenance. It shook itself vigorously, sending droplets of alien blood across the arena floor, then began scanning for its next target. Those dark, calculating eyes settled on the storm leviathan's enclosure. Ambassador Wisp's gaseous form flickered with distress. Security teams, deploy immediate containment protocols. Do not allow that creature to reach the weather entity. The honey badger was already in motion, scaling the supposed unclimbable energy barriers with movements that defied physics. Its claws found purchase on surfaces that should have been frictionless, and it moved with the confident grace of an apex predator in its natural environment. Without hesitation, it dove directly into the swirling maelstrom of artificially generated weather. Full defensive measures, Wisp commanded. Hurricane winds, lightning strikes, absolute zero temperatures. The storm leviathan responded with everything in its considerable arsenal. Winds that could tear apart atmospheric craft battered the small mammal. Lightning bolts that could power small cities struck repeatedly. Temperature fluctuations that would shatter most materials cycled from absolute zero to plasma heat. The honey badger vanished completely within the artificial hurricane, invisible to all sensors and observation equipment. For 30 seconds, the alien observers dared to hope. Surely no biological entity could survive such punishment. Then the storm leviathan began to scream. The sound was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. It resembled a hurricane being torn apart from within, wind patterns collapsing into chaos as the gaseous entity writhed in apparent agony. Through breaks in the dissipating storm clouds, observers caught glimpses of the impossible. The honey badger had somehow gotten inside the leviathan's consciousness matrix and was systematically destroying it from within. "Explain this," Chancellor Vrex demanded. "How can a solid creature exist inside a gaseous entity?" Dr. Webb referenced his data with academic calm. Honey badgers can survive in extremely low oxygen environments by slowing their metabolism to near hibernation levels. They've been documented digging out of their own graves after being buried alive. As for existing within a gaseous entity, the Leviathan maintains a semi-solid core for structural integrity. The badger simply found it. The storm. Leviathan's death was more spectacular than its predecessors. The artificial weather systems collapsed entirely, dumping several tons of water across the arena floor. When the mist cleared, the honey badger stood in the center of a large puddle, looking mildly irritated by the moisture but otherwise unharmed. 2 apex predators eliminated. The honey badger's attention shifted to the final major threat, the Void Stalker. Chancellor Vrex's crystalline form had developed stress fractures as he watched his understanding of natural law crumble. Deploy psychic dampeners. Maximum telepathic suppression. Do not allow that thing to approach our apex predator. The Void Stalker uncoiled from its resting position, 50 feet of evolutionary perfection that existed partially in normal space and partially in the realm of pure terror. Its presence alone was enough to drive most sentient beings to madness, and it had never encountered prey that could resist its psychic assault, until now. Waves of telepathic fear washed over the arena, causing panic among the alien observers. Several species evacuated their viewing boxes entirely. Others fell into catatonic states. The raw terror projected by the Void Stalker was considered one of the most potent weapons in known space. The honey badger looked directly at the nightmare creature and yawned. Sarah Chen watched the confrontation with professional interest. Honey badgers possess what we call ecological fearlessness. They've evolved in an environment where backing down from any threat usually means death. Their response to danger isn't flight or complex emotional processing. It's immediate, overwhelming aggression. The Void Stalker, encountering true fearlessness for the first time in its existence, experienced something approaching confusion. Its telepathic abilities were useless against a mind that simply didn't process threat assessment the way other creatures did. Frustrated by the failure of its primary weapon, the Void Stalker did something unprecedented in its hunting career. It resorted to physical combat. The massive predator lunged with claws capable of rending titanium alloy. The honey badger dodged with surprising agility, then immediately launched its counterattack. It went straight for the most obvious target, the creature's eyes. What followed challenged every principle of combat dynamics known to galactic science. A 30-pound mammal systematically dismantled a creature nearly 2,000 times its mass through pure, relentless aggression. The honey badger absorbed devastating hits that should have been instantly fatal, then used its wounds as tactical advantages. When the Void Stalker's claws raked across its back, the honey badger twisted in the wounds, using the increased flexibility to reach vital organs. When the massive predator attempted to pin it down, the honey badger simply burrowed through flesh and muscle to attack from unexpected angles. Most disturbing of all, when the Void Stalker intensified its psychic assault to levels that were causing aliens throughout the arena to lose consciousness, the honey badger completely ignored the mental attacks and continued its methodical destruction. The battle ended with shocking suddenness. The Void Stalker, exhausted and confused by fighting an enemy that refused to acknowledge it should be dead, made a critical tactical error. It lowered its massive head for what should have been a finishing blow. The honey badger latched onto its throat with the grip of industrial machinery. The death of the Void Stalker was almost anticlimactic after the epic struggle. One moment it was a creature of legend and nightmare, the next it was simply another corpse with a small, blood-soaked mammal standing victoriously on its remains. Security forces had been mobilizing throughout the extended battle, but they froze when they realized their target was now looking at them with evident interest. Several armed guards actually took steps backward. Sarah called out across the arena, "I'd recommend standing down. It's not finished yet." She was absolutely correct. The honey badger had noticed the numerous minor apex predators in their individual enclosures and appeared to be systematically planning its approach to each one. The acid-spitting death worms from Proxima Beta lasted exactly 30 seconds. Their venom, capable of dissolving most known materials, simply rolled off the honey badger's hide while it calmly chewed through their vital organs. The metal-eating scarab beetles from the Rigel system couldn't penetrate the honey badger's skin quickly enough to matter. They found themselves being systematically crushed by jaws that had evolved to crack through the hardest substances on Earth. Most unsettling of all, the phase-shifting shadow cats from the quantum realm discovered that honey badgers could somehow bite things that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The precise mechanism was unclear, but the results were definitive. Within 2 hours, the most prestigious tournament in galactic history had transformed into a one-sided massacre. 23 apex predators lay dead or permanently disabled, while one small Earth mammal sat calmly in the center of the devastation, grooming itself with the casual air of someone who had just completed routine exercise. The alien observers sat in shell-shocked silence. Every principle of evolutionary biology, every assumption about predator hierarchies, every belief about the natural order had been systematically demolished by a creature that resembled a household pet. Chancellor Vrex finally found his voice, though it emerged as barely more than a whisper. How do you control such creatures on your homeworld?" Sarah looked up at the assembled alien dignitaries with the first genuine smile she had displayed all day. "We don't control them, we just try to stay out of their way." Dr. Webb added helpfully, "Honey badgers are considered agricultural pests across most of Africa and Asia. They break into beehives, raid chicken coops, attack livestock, and have been documented successfully fighting off much larger predators including lions, leopards, and crocodiles. Most humans give them a very wide berth." "How many of these creatures exist on your planet?" someone asked, their voice barely above a terrified whisper. Webb consulted his tablet with academic precision. "Current population estimates suggest somewhere between 2,000 and 5,000 individuals. They're not considered endangered or particularly rare." The silence that followed was profound and deeply unsettling. The Galactic Reckoning. 4 months after what galactic historians would forever remember as the Nexus Arena Massacre, the emergency session of the Galactic Council convened with unprecedented urgency. The vast assembly hall orbiting Proxima Centauri had never hosted such a gathering. 847 different species packed the chamber, their usual elaborate diplomatic protocols abandoned in favor of survival-focused pragmatism. High Chancellor Vrex approached the central podium with visible difficulty. His once magnificent crystalline form now displayed stress fractures throughout his structure, permanent damage from the psychological trauma of witnessing everything he believed about natural order systematically destroyed by a 30-pound mammal. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," he began, his voice carrying undertones of barely suppressed panic. "We convene this emergency session to address what our combined intelligence services have classified as the Terran biological crisis." The holographic display that materialized above the assembly showed footage that had been circulating through encrypted channels for months. The honey badger, now known throughout galactic space as the Nexus Terror, methodically destroying creatures that had represented the pinnacle of evolutionary achievement from across known space. Ambassador Zach clicked nervously from his position in the Kalari section. Half of his delegation had suffered complete psychological breakdowns and remained in medical facilities. Our xenobiological analysis teams have completed their preliminary assessment. The results are profoundly disturbing. A ripple of unease passed through the assembled delegates. This honey badger appears to be classified as a common agricultural pest on the human homeworld. Not a military weapon, not a genetically engineered super predator, a pest animal that humans actively work to keep away from their food production facilities. The translation systems of several species struggled with the concept. The most effective killer any of them had ever witnessed was considered a nuisance by the humans who shared its planet. Dr. Thezak, the galaxy's most respected evolutionary biologist, approached the display with her tentacled form rippling in anxiety. Initial hypotheses suggested the honey badger was an anomaly, possibly a bioweapon developed in secret by human military research programs. Extensive investigation has definitively disproven this theory. New images filled the holographic space, Earth's biosphere in all its impossible, terrifying diversity. Long-range reconnaissance and detailed orbital surveys have revealed that Earth must be classified as a Class 12 death world. This represents the highest danger classification in our system, reserved for planets where complex life should theoretically be impossible. The first image showed a saltwater crocodile, 20 feet of perfectly evolved killing machinery that had remained essentially unchanged for 200 million years. This creature represents evolutionary perfection. Its bite force exceeds 3,700 pounds per square inch, sufficient to crush most starship hull materials. It has survived multiple extinction events because it requires no improvement. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the next image appeared. A blue-ringed octopus, barely the size of a golf ball, its delicate tentacles decorated with beautiful warning colors. This organism carries enough neurotoxin to eliminate 26 adult humans within minutes. Its venom is approximately 1,200 times more potent than standard cyanide compounds. A single specimen could theoretically kill the entire crew of a light cruiser. The parade of biological impossibilities continued. Giant Pacific octopi with near-sapient intelligence that could squeeze through any opening larger than their beak. Polar bears capable of detecting prey scents from 20 miles away and breaking through meter-thick ice with their claws. African wild dogs with a hunt success rate of 90%, higher than any technological targeting system. These represent only the obvious predators, Dr. Thezak continued, her voice growing smaller with each revelation. Earth's ecosystem contains millions of species, including parasites that control host behavior, plants that kill through contact toxins, disease vectors that spread rapidly through populations, and countless organisms that kill through mechanisms we lack adequate terminology to describe. Ambassador Wisp materialized near the center of the assembly, their gaseous form flickering with agitation. What about the humans themselves? Surely they must represent the apex predators of their world to survive in such an environment. Captain Sarah Chen rose to address the assembly. In the months since the tournament, she had become one of the most feared and respected individuals in known space. Hardened warriors who had faced down armies now instinctively stepped aside when she entered a room. Humans aren't apex predators in the traditional sense, she explained with calm professionalism. We're persistence hunters. Our species evolved to track prey over vast distances and extended time periods until the target collapsed from exhaustion. Dr. Webb joined her presentation, tablet containing detailed physiological data. Human beings can maintain continuous locomotion for hours in heat conditions that would prove fatal to most galactic species. We possess the most efficient thermoregulation system of any known sapient race. Our environmental adaptability allows survival in conditions ranging from Arctic temperatures to desert heat to high altitudes where other species would suffocate from oxygen deprivation. More significantly, Sarah continued, humans are uniquely adaptive. When we encounter organisms or environmental factors capable of killing us, we study them systematically, develop countermeasures, and create tools specifically designed to eliminate the threat. We've been refining this process for millions of years. The holographic display shifted to show human military operations, soldiers moving through environments that would represent immediate death for most alien species, carrying weapons specifically engineered to eliminate creatures far larger and more dangerous than themselves. Every human child receives education from birth regarding the fact that their environment is actively hostile to their survival, Sarah explained matter-of-factly. We teach them to recognize that attractive colors in nature usually indicate deadly toxins, to maintain respectful distance from creatures capable of killing them instantly, and to fight back aggressively when cornered. This represents standard childhood education for our species. Chancellor Vrex's voice emerged as barely more than a whisper. Where does the honey badger rank within your planetary hierarchy of dangerous organisms? Sarah and Marcus exchanged meaningful glances. Intermediate tier, perhaps? Marcus responded after careful consideration. It's certainly dangerous relative to its size, but it doesn't approach the threat level of our most concerning species. The assembly erupted into panicked discussion across dozens of languages and communication methods. What could possibly be more dangerous than the creature that destroyed our apex predators? Someone demanded. Sarah's expression became notably more serious. Australian fauna. New images cascaded across the display. Box jellyfish whose nearly invisible tentacles delivered fatal toxins within minutes. Funnel web spiders whose venom remained potent for hours after the spider's death. Cassowaries, flightless birds capable of disemboweling adult humans with a single defensive kick. Australia represents approximately 7.5 million square kilometers of continent where natural selection appears to have focused exclusively on developing new methods of killing things, Dr. Webb explained with academic precision. Most organisms there evolved specifically to compete with other Australian species, resulting in capabilities that exceed reasonable expectations by galactic standards. Beyond terrestrial threats, 70% of Earth's surface consists of ocean environments containing organisms that make the honey badger appear harmless by comparison, Sarah added. Images of great white sharks, colossal squid, blue whales, and deep-sea creatures with anatomical features that violated several principles of physics flashed across the display. The Mariana Trench extends to depths exceeding 11 kilometers below sea level, Marcus noted. We remain uncertain about what organisms exist at those depths, but the pressure conditions alone would crush most galactic spacecraft designs. A profound silence settled over the assembly as the implications became clear. Admiral Zorks of the Hegemony Defense Fleet stood slowly, his massive frame trembling slightly. Are you informing this assembly that your planet contains millions of potential biological weapons, and your species chooses to inhabit this environment voluntarily? We call it home, Sarah replied simply. Chancellor Vrex gathered what remained of his composure. What conditions would humanity require?